There is a new class of homelessness, nouveau homelessness, neo-dependent upon the government, slaves to a failing FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Association. Get ready to be on the phone, people, right now that are seeing their houses go up in flames all over, right? Get ready to be on the phone. They know you. They have all your conversations recorded, digitally stored on the massive computer my dad told me about decades ago, Prism. I recall being the incubus of that. And now this evil being perpetrated by enemies of Christ. Enemies of Christ, the physical of the spiritual, most high spirit creator, of whom I have been called to warn. There is no salvation without him. As a called modern man of God, I accepted my call. Being new, I used the gifts I was giving. Now a self-styled poet, prophet, the present has been no surprise for those who have been watching, waiting. So the Hollywood Hills has been exposed last February 4th by prophecy as the current throne of Satan. That whole Laurel Canyon, Beverly Hills, Beverly Crest, Hollywood Hills, it's in there somewhere. It was exposed on February 4th as the current throne of Satan. We see that 2024 did expose the bankruptcy of our government. Now, what about that new class of homeless? Have you prayed for patience? Time to practice makes perfect, that skill. Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The Mud Flood was the Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. So, a free thoughts. In 5 seconds, what do you mean by Orthodox? Orthodox what? Russian Orthodox or something like that? You have been around for years, man. You know, I believe if I have introduced a new systematic theology. I call it pretermillennialism. I am a pretermillennialist. I believe the golden age is past. Not a preterist like Sherry and those guys, keep propping it out there. You got to be kidding me, man. You've got to know better. You have got to get off your high horse and stop. Stop. No. You know what? He needs to watch me. Tudor Alexander needs to watch my thing and comment on it, and then I'll do it. In the meantime, whatever he's saying, we've heard it all before. I am not accepting that somebody else discovered the star forts and said, hey, they added 1,000 years. The mud flood was Armageddon. Let's start a new systematic theology. I'm not playing that game anymore. Tudor Alexander needs to watch my videos and say, wow, that either does or doesn't make sense. But he can't deny that it is led by Scripture, line upon line, precept upon precept. It is the first systematic theology that has not been introduced by a Jesuit in their claimed 2,000 years, and what I've exposed it being 1,320 years. So don't play games, man. Game player. Your itching ears, it is time to make a decision. You've been around long enough. You either understand what I'm teaching, you've got something better. I got it last night. Oh, sometimes I take myself too seriously. I asked the man, what have you brought to the discussion? Did you start the conception of a website called Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past in 2016? Then please hush your mouth. I don't know if I have any pictures or not, but I usually check. Oh, these are star forts from last night. You know, I went to bed, and what was going on in the news? You know what's going on in the news. Nothing good. History's mysteries. You know, the white people still trying to figure out World War I. What did it happen? What happened? What happened? How did the Russians get, you know, called? How were the Huns called black people? Where's that one picture that he showed for a long time? They were considered monkeys. You know, and it's all about who's white, who's black. The white people, how did, you know, we consider some people black. But in the meantime, get on your search engine and go find out that as soon as the Renaissance thinking was introduced to Asia, and the white people were saying, oh, we discovered chess in the 1880s and you should jump on our bandwagon and learn how to. Well, Japan did. India did. And pretty soon they were saying, like, we invented chess. We're good at it. And they started kicking the white man's ass. And then Japan beat Russia in 2 wars. And then they took over Manchuria. And it does seem that we are still looking back at the white man's version. What happened to the king in Sarajevo? And in the meantime, China and Japan and those countries are still saying, wow, did they really come in here and sell heroin and have 2 opium wars? And they're still mad about it. And they're really mad about it. And they have a bunch of secret societies. And now it's, you know, drug running world, pedophile world. Everyone's being exposed. Whose government right now? Britain, United States, you know, going back decades, turning up spirit cooking, evil things. And we still think, oh, we're going to make America great again like it was Leave It to Beaver. Well, China has an idea that they were Tartaria. They might have been here. And they know that we're not the true history of the world. And they're willing to sit back and watch it burn. Now watch, we'll just click on, you know, let's just go to my algorithm, man. Hey, algorithm, fires? Really?
If you are not near those fires directly, these winds are going to continue to blow. So the danger is still with us. These winds still clocking in at 20, 30 miles per hour. The wind gusts are much stronger. We're still expecting these wind gusts to be near 60 to even 80 miles an hour. Beverly Hills nearing 30.
They were showing wind speeds in canyons 85 to 90 miles an hour. That's hurricane force winds feeding these fires. Paradise Fire much? You think Brush Juggy and Shane, you know, they wrote a book about this stuff. You know what? They live in California. They might even be running for their lives right now, praying for them that they can make a video, you know, and show how they bring those lasers and stuff out of the, what is that called? Area 51. Well, look, it's Beverly Hills. It's on fire. And they're rich people. And it's not like, oh, just their trees are burning. This time it's going up.
miles an hour. A little quieter out towards the South Bay, but out in Orange County, very strong winds, the usual wind-prone area.
I wonder how the soon-to-be homeless housewives of Orange County are going to be doing. Look at that. That's fanning the flames. And I know you from the Ho Chi Minh Trail to Operation Popeye, you know as much as I do about how they manipulate the weathers. You're sick and tired of having to explain that chemtrails are atmospheric aerosols being sprayed to cool the earth, and yet so they're waking up right now in California. It looks like the sun is coming up and they're going to be able to see the damages, but they still have money. Everybody's got to make a living, so
I haven't gotten an update overnight. I know that yesterday, that's exactly where I was standing when this fire really started to take off and kicked off to about 100 acres. And I got some incredible shots of the Getty, and they were hitting that whole area with fixed wings and our super scoopers. So at that point, and late afternoon, late last night, I had not heard that any damage had actually affected.
You see this was yesterday. It's much worse this morning. Did you see them using the bulldozers? All of these Mercedes and these Teslas just bulldozed out of the way because the fire department told them, leave your cars and flee, the fire's coming. So they did. And then they couldn't get the fire trucks back to the fire. I kid you not. Let's check it. Let's check it live. Do live from the NBCLA.
Than yesterday. So we have extreme fire danger over the San Fernando Valley, the LA, Ventura County mountains. We're already starting to see how that combination of dry vegetation, low humidity, and very strong winds can quickly spread fires, and they are very hard to contain. So we are going to see those winds back off, diminish somewhat through the afternoon and evening, but they're not completely going away. And with that low humidity staying in place, red flag warnings will continue in place all the way until tomorrow afternoon. So you've been hearing all of our officials and of course our anchors on the desk say we're nowhere near the end of this wind event, and we have to continue to take precautions, not use anything that has an ignition source, and please be very safe because this red flag warning covers most of Southern California. We're in that set phase. Make sure you have your ready, set, go plan in action and that you're ready to evacuate if the officials warrant.
They got enough money? You think they got enough money to
let's go out on the ground. I want to get to a live shot now from Fox News chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt. He's in the Pacific Palisades, which is around where this Palisades fire started yesterday. What are you seeing where you are right now?
What we are seeing in a nutshell is the most extraordinary devastation I have seen from years of covering wildfires in Southern California. We're in one of the main residential streets in what is a packed residential neighborhood right now. We've been watching these two homes burn basically over the last 30 minutes. And I can tell you this, we don't have official figures yet, but when they come in, the number of homes burned just in this neighborhood, I have no doubt whatsoever is going to be in the hundreds. You look at this one here. This was burning high flames when we got here. Two-story home. The top story, as you can see, already collapsed, and part of it collapsing into the home next door. You can see that one is now beginning to catch fire. And firefighters, frankly, are still on a life-saving mission, not a property-protecting mission in situations like this. So that house is probably going to go too. And we bring you back to another one next door, and you can look straight through the front door. That is an apocalyptic scene. Everything that anybody had in that home. And there goes the wall. There goes the front wall of that home. Just
Hope you
another
enjoyed that
scene
view
like
through the
so
front
many we
door.
have seen and witnessed over the last 20. I have friends who live up there. My daughter has friends who live up there. They were trying to get out. Too much traffic. They could not move. So people started abandoning their cars, just jumping out as the wind gusts pick up again here, just jumping out. That caused more of a traffic jam. Firefighters then had to tell people, you can't come down here. You've got to stay in your homes. That's the safest place for you, even though the flames were coming directly to their homes. So, yeah, it's a problem of building, but these are homes that weren't built in the last 10 years. This neighborhood has been here for a very long time. So, but you're absolutely right. It's going to prompt some long, hard thinking from developers and officials alike as they deal with, I think, what is going to turn out to be one of.
4
My name is
minutes
Anthony
ago.
Maroney. I am the County of Los Angeles
now.
Fire Chief, and
7.
I'm also the Region 1 Coordinator for Fire and Rescue Resources. I'm going to be giving an update on the Palisades fire in addition to the Eaton fire, although I am aware that we have 4 large fires burning in LA County at this time. The Palisades fire is located in both LA City and LA County. We are in unified command with the City of Los Angeles Fire Department in addition to CAL FIRE. We have well over 5,000 acres that have burned, and the fire is growing. We have no percentage of containment. We have an estimated 1,000 structures destroyed and also no reported fatality.
Wow. Hey, insurance companies, you hope you're getting ready to be on the phone.
It is located in both the Angeles National Forest, the Altadena area of LA County, and Pasadena. LA County is in unified command with both the Angeles National Forest and the Pasadena Fire Department. We have over 2,000 acres burning at this time, and the fire continues to grow with 0% containment. We have over.
That is not what is usually considered good news. So official 1,000 buildings, 0% contained right now, sweeping through the neighborhoods. Burbank, these hills here. That's where something's going on. We'll get to the floods and stuff, but man, wow.
24 hours. And with that, even within the city of Los Angeles, with these 2 major brush fires, our department has responded to 3,624 911 calls for service. And to put that in perspective, our average is just under 1,500 calls in a 24-hour period. Over the last 24 hours, we've also responded to an additional 32 structure fires within the city. We've treated and transported an extensive number of medical emergencies, well extending our normal 650 transports to the local hospitals. When it comes to the Pacific Palisades fire, as Chief Maroney had said, this is over 3,000 acres at this point and continues to grow. We will confirm the exact acreage later, so we'll make sure that we also communicate that to the community and to the media. Last night, as of 1930 hours, all aircraft
that seems funny. There
due to the high winds. Aircraft are continued to be able to resume their water drops and acreage mapping today when the weather allows us to do so. A total of 3,398 civilians.
Stretching the capacity of emergency services to their limits. Is this the equivalent of a bank run? How banks are all good until everybody wants their money at the same time.
Silmar. Last night at approximately 10:10 p.m., the fire erupted in the Silmar area of Los Angeles, adjacent to the Los Angeles National Forest. The fire has rapidly expanded to over 500 acres.
To evacuate. The fires are burning in places including the Pacific Palisades neighborhood of Los Angeles and Altadena, northeast of LA.
Sky was getting more red. It was scary. I had to call at least 4 or 5 times, and I had to like basically level with them and say, we are stuck here, and our car cannot get out of the garage because the garage door is electric.
At the bottom of the canyon, there was cars piled on top of each other.
There comes a time, this is my advice, get in your car and drive through the door. Your house is probably going to burn down anyway. Get in your car and run down your garage door.
Boulders and debris that fell off of the canyon that was on fire, that was in the middle of the road where people had to abandon their cars. I know people that live in that gated community right there on Sunset and
otherwise known as Hollywood for ugly people. I would like to welcome today into the live chat Debbie, All the Sun, Christopher, in more pop sociology areas. In fact, he's from Turin as well. Maybe they know each other. I don't know. He's younger than Echo, of course, and Echo's dead. Maybe he's the replacement for Umberto Eco, who, by the way, I have been claiming over the past 11 months that I've been doing this show. I'm claiming that Professore Umberto Eco was read in to these Luciferian forms of behavior, knowledge, and occult religio-philosophical of. And that's how I got to learn the ins and outs of the cult. And I don't think even Gary Greenwood understands that Tsukio Makihari is part of a larger intelligence operation, right? Okay, we talked about Hang. By the way, Hang Noor was shot and killed in Los Angeles, and they never found the person or persons that did it. They did see that his expensive watch and his jewelry and his wallet was not taken. So this is not a street crime. It was something deeper there. So far as I know,
that young man
alive.
Who Seth Rich, he got murdered like that too, and it was called a robbery, but they didn't take anything because this is their plan.
Even well, but he left the cult there. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Elaine Pagels. I think that's how her name is pronounced. She's a great lecturer. You can find her on YouTube presenting her work and engaging people in questions and answers. And she deserves all the acclaim that she's receiving as a scholar and as a public intellectual. As I mentioned, I don't know if she's retired or not, but she's out of Princeton University. And prior to that, I think had an elite education. She comes from either Ivy or Stanford, PhD. And she has the whole academic pedigree that makes her acceptable. But she seems to have done, well, when I say seems to, because a lot of these people who are put out there, people like your Alan Dershowitz over at Harvard, who have an endowed chair, most of that work is done by their grad students, the graduate assistants, and they slap their name on it. It's kind of like a factory. But this type of scholarship is so unique and requires so much hands-on sifting through that I think Pagels did most of it. She has talented grad students. I'm sure they help her, and colleagues, but this is all her work, and I'm grateful to. And I'm saying this because I don't mean to slam her here in any way. I have the highest regard for her. She's one of the first people in the academic world that reached out to a larger public to discuss. She wrote a book about the Gnostic Gospels, and now Gnosticism has become pop Gnosticism in the larger culture. I don't know if that's necessarily good, but she was approaching it as a scholar of religion. She's not a theologian. She is a scholar of religion. She studies religion. That's not to say she does not have her own faith. I haven't read her book about her own faith, her own spiritual odyssey, if you will, and I'm going to read about it because I think it's important to understand her academic work, her professional work, right? And important for our purposes here, and that's why I wanted to revisit her work, because I read it years ago. She did a book called the Invention of Satan, right? So she comes with and she's doing it with textual analysis and from the standpoint of a bona fide scholar. I assume she knows the ancient languages, right? Not just Greek, but Aramaic and Coptic, and the dialects and whatever it is that that these manuscripts have gone into, right? Or she has access to people who knows it. But she came up with this.
So it's the satanic panic. It is Anton LaVey. It was in Denver, I think, Colorado Springs, Trinidad. It's where I am now. Black dragons. He reads books, threatening wildlife. No. We still have them dealing with the hurricane that hit North Carolina.
It's been 3 months since Hurricane Helene tore through North Carolina. Floodwaters swept away homes, and now as winter tightens its grip, the fight to stay warm is a battle fought daily. Survival isn't just about endurance, it's about grit, guts, and fire. Entered the crew from West Virginia. They didn't come with work.
That's a lot of fuel.
Allowing us to use this. We got wood donated from a fellow clear up in Central Ohio. Marlon Stutzman brought his quad axle log truck.
Winners, love and faith will always keep the fire burning.
Love and faith is good. I hope people use it. Let's see we've done the fire. What about the weather that Brother RJ is going to be driving through? He's on his way right now taking some snowbirds to Florida because that's what he does. They don't offer too much. Here's the grooming party.
The removal of some branded items of the school uniform. And we talk about it being £50, £500. But would he agree with me? Actually, it's bigger than that for parents who have multiple children in the same school.
I absolutely would agree with that, and particularly for primary school children, where typically they're wearing polo shirts and you need 5 days worth plus PE kit, it'll make an enormous difference. Whilst it's been great to see organisations like Winsford Uniform Exchange in my constituency grow and provide people with lower cost and greener alternatives, bringing these costs down for families is absolutely the right priority. These may be the two most visible measures in this bill, and I hope that they will be part of a lasting legacy of this government that we have.
So they're supposed to be, groom ganging in these, 5 hours. These are usually kind of...
The roles afforded to women throughout history, as with the words that refer to them, seem to vacillate between the extremes of queens and ladies on the one end and vilified figures of shame on the other. So it's only through wiping out these oppressive and misogynistic stereotypes that we can achieve a paradise of equality. Woman was formed in Old English as the compound weefman, originally literally woman person, from the word elements weef, woman, which later became narrowed in sense to married woman as modern.
So there you can, we don't want to intrude too much on him, but married woman, man, woman taken out of man, going to be a helper, and it seemed to work for a long time, but now this pronoun thing with shame, prudence, one man, one wife for life. That's not what we've been trained to talk about. But, you know, all of the languages were confused. They were going to be able to be figured out. Is there really men that just hate women, misogyny? Are there really, you know, I hate women. Why? You know, what mental problems does that mean? Or does it just mean that, oh, I wouldn't compromise, so I must hate them?
How prominent the horse community is in LA, because we're not like a southern or one of those northern or midwestern states. People don't associate us with like farming and ranching, but in LA there are so many horse people, all different kinds. You got rancheros and vaqueros and charros from the Mexican community. You got black and white cowboys all over, even some natives. You got people that do hunter jumpers, all types of horses and all type of discipline and horse lovers all over the county. So I would definitely say thousands.
So what is the best way for people to contact you if they're in need of your services?
You know what it seems like? In a way, think they don't need these people anymore. They don't need these workers anymore. They're not going to need to support Silicon Valley. The movie industry unions are too expensive. Satan has still got a plan. I mean, Michelle Obama's still in the mix. I mean, they're not going to give up and go away.
They can definitely text me to my phone number. Our number is 818-312.
A lot of elder people here. That's why I'm afraid. And then last night, I keep yelling to my husband. I said, let's go now. Let's go now. Bring that dog now. Grab the dog now. I said, okay, don't be nervous. Okay, I'm here and everything is ready. I said, okay, let's go.
Yeah, that's got to be stressful, and that's what fire officials recommend: is you have a plan, have everything you need, and get ready to go.
Drive right through that garage
door. Have you been through
Oh, we
evacuations?
can't get out.
I was back in 2017, 18, I think it was, but the flames were so much higher than this one, and that one was worse. I mean, that was, everybody had to evacuate. So, and then, like you said earlier, that the seer, I wasn't here then, that was the worst. It destroyed everything. But management has done a great job here, because they have the gardeners weed out around the perimeter of the entire park to leave about, I don't know, 30 feet up the mountain. So that prevents the fire to travel into the homes. And as you can see today, thank goodness, thank God that nothing was destroyed.
Yeah, and have you seen some of the other activity in Pasadena with the fire there and the Pacific Palisades? When you hear that homes were lost, people were injured, what goes through your mind?
Yeah, that's made just a very afraid that what happened, because this is my first time what happened to my life. Yeah.
Near Murata Place right now, and the winds have been whipping out of control, and that makes this fire even more dangerous. The Eaton fire here, you can see homes are burned to the ground. The home you're looking at right now that is on fire, the homeowner came over to us to say, this is my home, and he got a picture and then he ran as fast as he could, because there's a lot of danger in this area with the downed power lines as well. Wow. Police have been out in the loudspeakers telling people, if you are in this area, you need to evacuate as soon as possible.
We need to be empathetic. We absolutely do. Just bear with me 1 second here. I want to going to share a Bible verse. And, you know, because I do want to, get Bible Hub. Let's look up Jeremiah. I should be sharing that so you can at least see what I'm struggling with here. Jeremiah 14, the word of the Lord. Am I sharing here? Came to Jeremiah concerning drought. Her gates languish, her people lament on the ground. Her nobles send their servant for water. They come to the cisterns, they find no water. They return with their vessels empty. They are ashamed and confounded. Cover their heads because the ground that is dismayed, since there is no rain on the land. Wild donkeys bear heights. Fire, flood, and pestilence. What does the Bible say about pestilence? That's one of them that's coming. Revelation. How did Babylon fall? One day, plagues will overtake her, death, mourning, and famine. She will be consumed by fire, completely consumed by fire. For the mighty is the Lord God who has judged her. If we, can be empathetic at the same time realizing this is our turn is coming. Many of these people in California could have never, ever believed that this would ever happen to them, that they're going to be like begging their insurance company for a motel room. Two things will overtake you in a moment, in a single day: loss of children and widowhood. They will come upon you in full measure, in spite of your many sorceries. There's a lot of people that have not relied upon the Lord. And to see this still burning from yesterday to today, still 0% contained. For behold, the Lord will come in fire, and his chariots like the whirlwind, to render his anger in fury. He rebukes with flames and fire. Verse 16 continues, for by fire will the Lord enter into judgment. Let's look at that in the Bible. We'll use the wise men came, Jesus was born, the two most famous people in the world at the time, John the Baptist and Lord Christ Messiah. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Make his path straight. And there were a lot of people who didn't want people to say they were doing anything wrong. They were a brood of vipers. Sadducees and Pharisees, didn't even really believe the Bible, started oral traditions to where they could actually have different set of laws where they could tell the King of Glory that he's doing the Sabbath wrong. It's wrong to heal people on the Sabbath, and they were ready to choose Barabbas for him. But he came baptizing with water, somebody's sandals he was not worthy to carry, and he was going to baptize them with the Holy Spirit and fire. The winnowing fork is in Jesus's hand, he said, and he will clear the threshing floor, gather his wheat in the barn. I'm just saying, it's a standard operating procedure. What we have discovered in premillennialism, not preterism, not that Jesuit-based thing I was sucked into believing, and now have a non-Jesuit systematic theology. Years ago, confirmed by the famous Randy from Wisconsin, my big brother, we were on to something. We know that 24 elders are represented by the gold-tipped nerves in the brain. When activated by God, then we'll bow down and say, holy, holy, holy. But in the meantime, we discovered, oh my goodness, here comes Armageddon. It is the marriage supper of the Lamb. He's coming on a white horse. Clothed in blood, robe dipped in blood. Well, what happened? The beast was captured. The false prophet was captured. Satan was there. He was captured also. These two, which had done those that deceived them then, those that had received the mark of the beast and worshiped the image, those two were thrown alive into a lake of fire that burns with sulfur. There were no chapter breaks and verses. It continues. What they do with their third captive? So that John saw an angel come down from heaven to take care of him, put him in a bottomless pit to make sure you know who he was. They're talking about seize the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan. Let's don't make any mistake. Bound him for 1,000 years. The word means cilia. It is the word that the sacred geometry uses to mean 10 times 10 times 10. It's what the Bible uses when it says it was exactly this many cubits when you build something. And then you go that many. It's exact number. And then he had to be let go, because in that time of being captured, he couldn't deceive the nations for that 1,000 years. Well, at the end of that 1,000 years was the reaping that we live in now, that he's going to be released in for a little while. So considering from whenever the time was that God proposed a physical earth to be an object lesson for the angels that shocked them, that said there's going to be a human that all humans and all spirit creatures will worship. And the souls of them that were beheaded at that time received that blessed first resurrection. The second death will have no power over them. They already made it. They're the ones whose souls were crying out, or am I going to get avenged or what? And Jesus was telling them, well, when all of my sheep are brought in who are part of that blessed first resurrection, then we'll go get them. Okay. All right. He settle down was kind of the implication there. But the rest of us did not come to life until those 1,000 years are over. And we were all over it. And we did it. Doug helped, but he got encompassed about. So we know that when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan is going to be released. Then there was that reaping after the 1,000 years that led first, put in your sickle. He saw an angel on a cloud. He goes, put in your sickle. And another angel on a cloud. He goes, hey, you, put in your sickle. He goes, this is the sickle of wrath. And he goes, put it in. So the wheat and the tares were separated. And we got this orphan train, lobotomized parent, grandparent mixture we're living in now. You got the prophet that is more like the guy that's like, why do you got to look like that? Why can't you look like King Saul, be all like the senator type or something? I don't know. You don't choose yourself. So we're going to get encompassed about, surrounded. This camp is not to be confused with the camp in the wilderness. I've told them 1,000,000 times. That's hyperbole. This camp doesn't mean anything like the camp in the Old Testament word for the camp in the wilderness, that there's going to be one central location. There's camp. It's barracks. It's castles. It's the places that they've left waiting for us in the mountains. What camp of the saints are you guys waiting for? That's as stupid as thinking you can take a rowboat and maybe find Jesus at the North Pole. Wait to come down on the North Pole? Remember Theron, that was 1 year ago. He was raising money. He didn't care. He's going to have somebody take care of his goats. And finally, I was warning them, you'll die. In Luke, that you will cast around the enemies. They don't even want to show the embarrassment of what the King James would mention on this. So we're going to have to do it the hard way. Just choose this one and then go down to 49 and we'll click on it and we'll get all of the different translations. So once again, I didn't get it right. It's 43. Okay, 43. Was it 42 or 43? I'm just kidding. I hope you know I was kidding. So cast around from you will come days upon you that will barracks, will castle. Right. And this is the first generation where I keep going like, when are we finally going to beat our swords into plowshares? When are finally we going to be able to tell that children that we want to give a drink of cold water to? It doesn't have fluoride in it, damn it. It's good for you. It's got fluoride in it, but mommy and daddy need to work this 401k as long as we can in case the Bible's not true. And this money won't mean a hill of beans when your house is burning down in a paradise fire. For days will come upon you that your enemies will cast around you a barricade. It will surround you and hem you in on every side. Is that Armageddon or is that now? They will level you to the ground, you and your children within your walls. They will not leave one stone. Uh-oh. Were there only Jews in Jerusalem at that time? Was there only one camp? Was that it? Just Jerusalem? What about all those that were living in diaspora that the Greeks were building synagogues for? Because the Greeks believed in Ahura Mazda, and the great Babylonian kings told them all, go ahead and worship your God, but as long as I'm in charge, you will never admit there's a higher God than Jesus. The God that David was that covenant keeper. You better learn a lesson that even that covenant keeper, when you fall into sin as a Christian, you repent. You don't just write it off and go, oh no. You prove you're the the worthy repenter as much as you were the worthy covenant keeper. For the days, King James Modern Version, will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment around you and surround you on every part. I could go to Luke 17, you know, but we kind of make our deal here with Matthew 24, because Matthew 24 is the one that says, when was the last time you read the book of Daniel, you knuckleheads, and found out when the end times will be? Here's the destruction. There will be not one stone. Okay, we're time stamping these things, right? Don't be led astray. Kingdom against kingdom. Let's go nation against nation. This was for them at that time. This was going to happen to them at that time. Not you. Some will still be alive, but this is going to happen. It's, you know, Satan was at that time deceiving the nations. There was only that 1,000 years when he couldn't make nations and deceive them. Oh, Christians are going to be hated by the nations because of Jesus' sake. Whew. Wow. So we're warned about the abomination of desolation spoken about in the book of Daniel. Let's do it the hard way, but it is the way that can sometimes lead to it. The phrase used in the book of Daniel describes the pagan sacrifices. They want to tell you when it was done. No, I'll tell you when it was done, because they got it all wrong. They don't believe it happened then. I do. When you see standing in the holy place, when you see the abomination of spoken by Daniel in the holy place, standing in the holy place, not sacrificing a pig like the Seventh-day Adventists and everybody with their globe-loving timeline would have you believe. No. But from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away, when this happens, there's going to be this many days you should worry about, because the 1,000 years that they added negates itself. This 1,000 years was when Satan was in prison and no nations were being deceived. This 1,000 years is in Revelation 20, when Satan was in the pit and could not deceive the nations. And then after he was released, there was the reaping. Satan's back in charge of, there's always this remnant of the rest of the dead. It's not that mysterious. It means the last of the people who are dead in their sins, the last of the people who have a chance to be 1, called, 2, chosen, 3, elect, 4, predestined, 5, adopted into the family of God. Really, for no apparent reason. We have nothing to brag about. And that's why they hate us. The people without eyes to see and ears to hear, they're going to go, just because you were chosen, you're telling me there's a hell I'm going to? And we have to go, no, the Bible is saying that. We just want to be left alone. We'll see you later. No, you won't see me later. You're going to take this medical procedure or I'm going to kill you. Whoa. Well, okay. So it's something like that. Anyway, 290 days, that's not all. Blessed are those who make a last 45 years. Blessed is the one who waits and reaches the end of it all. Should I be doing it in the Greek or the Aramaic? I mean, this is sometimes it's better to do that interlinear. He's going to be waiting. We're going to be knowing what happens eventually. Now, I set it back from 2001, September 11, 45 days. There was a time that everything changed, because this isn't the last verse. This is saying, blessed are those, here are the, let's get the whole context. You're disturbed, Daniel. You got to shut up and seal it till the very end of time. To the very end of time. People are going to be wise, man, and it's going to be sealed up till the end of time when the shattering of the holy people comes to an end. That's when all these things will be finished. He heard, but he didn't understand because it was sealed up. Stop asking what's going to be the outcome of these things. It's sealed, Daniel. No one that wicked is going to understand. Their eyes and ears won't be happening. From the time the regular burnt offering is taken away and the abomination that makes desolate is set up. That's when Jesus said, when somebody stands in there proclaiming to himself to be like, and that's what those Greeks did. Before he ordered it, every stone taken down and melted for the gold, he went in there and said, my God rules this holy of holies. That's an abomination of desolation. You can't have this alleged third temple that's not prophesied. It's not a part of the mix. Daniel, thank you for your information about the 1,335 days. But as for you, go your way until the very end. And that's the great white throne. Because Daniel, you're going to rest. And that in the Old Testament, sleep, rest means you're dead. But you'll be realgamated at the resurrection of the great white throne. And he's going to stand in his allotted place at that end of day judgment. He's not part of the blessed first resurrection. And that's the theology a Jesuit didn't think of. That's the theology that the Lord showed me. And the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses have been with it every step of the way. And we're the ones, I'm the one that, was like, wow, this storm is going to hit. I told everybody on February 4th, where it hits is going to be the throne of Satan. We're going to go bankrupt, proven bankrupt in 2024 because of insurance fraud, storms, and the world is going to join in. It's happening around the world. This is live right now. It's not happening to you right now, but eventually it will. This is coming economic woe to this judged nation. This nation is judged.
We're talking about winds nearing 20 to 40 miles an hour, and those wind gusts are much stronger. Also quite strong up through portions of the high desert, portions of the Inland Empire in Orange County, 30 to 40 mile per hour winds near Santa Ana. So you know that those wind gusts are actually closer to the forecast that we had talked about today, anywhere from 60, even 70, 80 miles per hour. We've got a very tight pressure gradient that was happening yesterday and last night. We still have this spinning area of low pressure here that brought us the rain, actually, and the snow in the mountains yesterday morning. It is continuing to bring some instability across Baja and perhaps as far north as the eastern portion of San Diego and some of the mountain locations there. But sadly, it's too far south now to really impact us with any of that wet weather. However, high pressure is here. The gradients between these two systems are going to start to relax as we get to the afternoon and evening hours. But until then, we're still expecting these very strong gusts. Look at the future cast. This is what one of our computer models are showing. Look at all the brightly colored areas, the usual very wind prone areas during these weather events, which, by the way,
So it is pending. This time tomorrow, we will see the winter weather across North Texas. So now's the time to get those final preparations done if you haven't already done so. So yes, the area around the Metroplex out toward north and east has been upgraded into the warning area. Winter storm warning in effect, the pink shaded area. So we are talking about fairly widespread 2 to 4 inches of snow, but there will be some locally higher amounts, 6 inches plus, maybe approaching 8 inches in some areas up along.
Boom, there it is. Dallas, JFK. I've been telling you all along, Tyler, Texas. That's where George Bush Sr. fled to. He was a CIA asset, I believe, that day there. It's the home of the John Birch Society that the Lord put me into. All of my life, it was prepared to expose these people. And what's happening now, this is this tied in weather judgment. And this all brings the third fire, flood, brings what? Pestilence. They're not going to be able to fix this.
Along the Red River out toward north and east here over the next couple of days, beginning early tomorrow and going right through the day on into tomorrow night. So again, that winter storm warning in effect for a large part of North Texas, including the Metroplex. Now, again, we will see that widespread 2 to 4 inches in and around Dallas and Fort Worth. But as we head a little farther north, we're talking about at least 5 inches plus, as you just saw there, maybe even into that 6 to 8 inch range and less or so with the snowfall totals along and south of I-20 as we head through the early part of Friday. All right, here's what it looks like and how things will take shape. That storm system out toward west. We'll have the partly cloudy skies staying dry today, but as it works its way into West Texas, moving into our area late tonight, probably sometime after 3 a.m., heading into the morning rush tomorrow. That's when we'll begin to see that precip, maybe initially in the form of some sleet, a little bit of that wintry mix, and some colder rain a little farther south. That it will become more widespread across the area.
No, the famous Randy, like I said earlier, is taking snowbirds to Florida. They break it into a 3-day drive. He drives them 8 hours, puts them up in a motel. I forget. I know he stays in Clarksville. And I always joke, that's the song about the monkeys, The Last Train to Clarksville. And he goes, yeah, that's the one. I think it's in Tennessee. Oh, so there is this the town he's going to be staying in on his way there? That's not going to help me.
Morning, we do share areas of frost filling in as clouds part. We could see some patches of fog develop as those clouds are exiting as well, starting at around 27 in Knoxville on this Thursday morning. Now we have a beautiful sunshine-filled day, so the clouds really are exiting in time for a nice quiet day. Throw in a light breeze and sunshine, and at least we have a steady climb in temperatures. 38 degrees at noon. Your high today 44.
So
all clear for the
RJ
afternoon.
has it timed
Quiet for now.
perfectly.
Gotta enjoy because we
If
only
he-
have a couple of quiet days in the first alert 8-day planner. At high today again 44 in Knoxville. Wanted to show you where it's really more low to mid 40s throughout our area. Zooming in, first alert forecast where you live. 45 in Athens, 44 today in Knoxville and Oak Ridge. How about 41 today for a high in Crossville and 40 in Jamestown. Definitely can feel a little bit cooler, but at least it's just a light wind. Sunshine helps. 40 upper teens to low 20s. All clear though yet again.
Look at that. He's got a good shot on that. So this is where he stays the first night. The second night is somewhere in Georgia or something like that. But he thinks he's going to scoot right underneath it. That guy, man.
We're keeping an eye on, of course, the
Awesome.
Hearst fire roaring through the hillsides in Sylmar, fueled again by those strong winds and dry conditions.
Yeah, thousands of people have been ordered to evacuate their homes, and evacuation centers are open in
But let
Pacoima.
me give you I don't know what you believe, but I kind of, I can't do everything. So I count on Brush Junkie and Shane a lot. No, she's a girl that just started out making videos about what's the best way to put on makeup and how, and how to stay beautiful all your life. Was pretty much, that's her deal until recently. She got on these Lahaina fires, and she wrote a book with a man named Shane. And oh my goodness, they've been on fire. Globalist plan. So here's 4 months ago.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy, and I'm here with Shane. And today we have a video going into I guess we're going to explain the real reason, or I guess the long-term reason why Lahaina was burned, and give you guys some tips on how to identify when a smart city or these smart developments are being either spoken about or written about, so you can have a way to look for these developments in your area. And then Shane's going to go into the bigger picture and kind of connect the dots and give you all an idea of what the ultimate goal of these plans are. Before we get started, I do want to show you all the Sound the Alarm book that was just released, and this is the hardcover, so that's the only version that I have here. And you can get the hardcover, you can get all the hardcovers only on Amazon, but the paperback more recently we've noticed. And so now we're gonna transition into kind of the bigger picture, or like the macro
overview
way of looking at this, like to kind of put everything together, put everything into perspective and connect the dots. And this is something I'm just kind of recently been able to do. And this takes time. I've been looking into this for a year now. Shane is a little bit more familiar with these types of plans and the globalist agenda. But a term that he's going to be talking about is this 4IR, or the fourth industrial revolution. Now, the first revolution was the agricultural revolution.
This will be
The
done by
second was
computers,
the manufacturing revolution.
robots.
And the third, which is we're kind of
Computers
still
can
in,
be
is the
made to be robots.
informational revolution. And now I'll let Shane explain what the fourth one is. And that's what we're coming towards today.
All right. Thanks, Tracy. So as she explained, there's been technically 3 industrial revolutions so far, with the last one being the the industrial revolution of information with the internet. But now we have the 4th industrial revolution. So the 4th industrial revolution represents the sharing of data, or the selling of data, actually. So these companies want all access to all data so that they can run it through AI to fuse it all into an entire database on each person. Some of the impacts of the 4th industrial revolution are to decrease the use and ownership of personal motorized vehicles, discourage the construction and ownership of single-family homes, smart buildings, roads, and outdoor areas. This includes buildings that are equipped with sensors, as well as roads and intersections that also have these sensors, and outdoor areas to track everyone's movement. They also have public-private partnerships to decide policy. Another thing that's going to be part of this is something called a digital twin, or digital ID, which is required to access basic city services. Another thing is the transition to all electric power and the phasing out of gasoline and combustive fuels. Another thing that they're trying to introduce is e-governance and automated city services. This is another part of the ESG, which is known as environmental social governance, but it's also been used in the context of electronic social governance. So they want to have everyone be governed socially through electronic means. And that's not just like on the macro scale, but on the micro scale. So they want to basically control every minor movement and minor decision that we make, and everything's going to be tracked along the way. But also on the macro scale, they want to introduce something called direct democracy, which is voting over the internet. Now, if you thought mail-in voting was bad or electronic voting on the Diebold or Dominion machines was bad, this is going to be even worse. So it adds more layers of hackability and manipulation to the system.
Future economic potential. You're going to make that decision, like how to evaluate the future use of your activities. It won't be us, it will be AI.
All right. So another thing that she mentioned was the tracking of the Internet of Things, and it goes right in with what I was saying about the Internet of Bio-Nano Things and the wireless body area networks. So what they're going to do is they're going to predict human behavior, and it's based on predictive analytics, and it's very similar.
I wonder how they predict how people will react in an uncontained fire in a Hollywood Hill.
To the pre-crime that you may have seen in the movie called Minority Report with Tom Cruise. And it's going to be very much like that, where they're going to try to predict human behavior and predict.
That's one of my favorite movies for decoding
things. I just want to let as many people know, what's really going on and what the end game is, because I wasn't so sure. So a lot of these presentations and the information we're going over today has really helped me. And so I hope this video has been helpful for all of you. And a lot of you are aware of these, but if you're not, I would say, pay attention, find out if your city is being planned for one of these, TODs or whatever it is, so that you can get involved. And if there's a meeting, it's the law that you can attend that meeting and testify either for or against it. And it's been very hard to find information on these meetings. So I'm hoping that some of this information will help you guys.
To see what I can only describe as the most extraordinary display of blue objects. Oh, this just isn't your week, is it? Chief Anderton. You better drink this. Soon you won't be able to swallow, and then you'll be totally buggered.
That means somebody will have sex with him in the butt. That was a bad thing that English people used to say.
All of it? Okay, now take a minute to write yourself.
About the precogs.
You think the 3 in the tank come out of a test tube? They are merely the ones who survived. I was doing genetic research at the Woodhaven Clinic, treating children of drug addicts. This was 10 years ago when heroin first hit the streets. It was an impure form of the drug, not the engineered cocktail that became so popular among the more educated. All of these kids were born with severe brain damage. Most died before the age.
I believe in that system.
Do you really?
You want to bring it down?
You will bring it down if you manage to kill your victim. Oh, why? That'll be the most spectacular public display of how pre-crime didn't work. But yes, that is what you have to do.
You're insane. Where you think I am. I'll get eye scanned a dozen times before I get within 10 miles of pre-crime.
Sometimes, in order to see the light, you have to risk the dark. A creature on the face of the earth is interested in one thing and one thing only: its own survival.
Wow. Wow.
Several miles downwind. Arrowhead Springs, 92 miles per hour. Magic Mountain Truck Trail up in the San Gabriel Mountains, 90 mile per hour wind gusts just early this morning. Rancho Cucamonga, 83 mile per hour winds. And at the Eaton Canyon area, 70 plus miles per hour. And this.
So what does that have to do with me and you? Should I get my briefcase out that I've been carrying with me since I left 37 Evergreen Street, Lake Zurich, Illinois, and my wife with one payment to make on a house that was worth over $300,000? How I won a case that would have changed the Supreme Court against a meth addicted sheriff of Colorado Springs. If I can get 5 people to comment in the comments, yeah, I'd like to know about that case and what's the case number to see if Saul Paco really had a case where he dressed like a Native American and defended himself in court. And if he had already pro se won $5,000 in court right there in Denver. Maybe that will help you believe it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past and the mud flood was Armageddon. But in the end, you had better give all the glory to the Lord Jesus Christ, the Most High. If he's called you, obey, or it would have been better that you had never heard. That's all I can warn you about. I've been warning you the last hour and almost 20 minutes. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arriba, Dirty. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame.